All right, Fonzo, you found us this gem, my boy. You remember? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
So a couple weeks ago, you sent me this video, and it was titled "The Problem with Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and How to Fix It." So it was made by this guy on YouTube. Here's his channel,
Yep,
There.
right there.
MMA Che.
Nope. There.
And so follow him, give him a follow. He's got a bunch of other stuff, some pretty good videos, actually. I watched a couple of other ones besides this one, but this one I watched a lot of, and it was kind of cool because World Jiu-Jitsu Championships was on. UFC was on last night. You know, it made me bring up, it got me a little nostalgic because I started pulling up old fights. But I'm going to break this guy's video down. We're going to talk about it. He came up with 3 points. Now, he's not completely wrong, but I just think that this was more of like a clickbait video, or at least the title is more clickbaity. You know what I mean? To get you to come in, and then once you come in, you're like, oh, this isn't like
What I thought it was.
this ain't a barbecue, bro. This is like a, you know what I mean? I remember, dude, one time we thought we were going to, I don't know if you were with us, bro, but we
The time
thought,
you went to Alfonso's gym,
no,
Ecuador?
we were
No.
we thought we were going to a haunted house, right? And
Uh-huh.
we go in and it's like spooky and shit. And then you get to a point where there's like a coffin and somebody's supposed to be dead. And then some guy just starts like preaching, like
Uh-oh.
talking about, yeah, it was like it turned out to be like some Christian deal. And we were like, oh,
Talking
no.
about-
We got
Oh,
up
I know
and walked out, dude.
Fool,
This is like that.
somebody walked out from behind you with a bowl of water and just slammed your head and baptized you like like in Nacho Libre.
Like a Nacho. Yeah.
Well,
You
then
got-
he unbaptized
you
because
got-
I was
I believe
already
in
baptized.
science.
What a jackass. All right, so let's look at this video here. Let's look at his first
Sleep number
his
small.
first point. I believe his first point was
To buy a bed.
something about how the guard is
Get a
ineffective.
hotel with an extra room.
Yeah, that's you don't want to do that in a fight. Yeah, you don't want to
So
bring
you
your
know
dog in a fight.
he might be right in this part, but to say that the guard is completely no good,
Why there
or
aren't as many
completely
UFC
ineffective,
champions with a black belt back? What are you doing? What is that thing? Sport
Here we
jiu-jitsu.
go.
And here's why you get rid of it. In completely 100% sport jiu-jitsu, there's pretty much 3 submissions you could realistically get from full guard. Triangle, armbar, omoplata. I mean, yeah, maybe you could go plata. That's rare, very hard to pull off. But, you know, there's 3. In MMA, it's really just the triangle. If you can lock up a triangle, guy's pretty much done. Armbar is going to be really hard to get from guard. Who's going for an omoplata in MMA? I mean, Nick Diaz go plotted someone. That's the only time I could ever think
That was
of that
badass
happening.
though.
Not going to happen very often. As far as sweeps go,
And it happened
it's
like the week
very
before
tough
too.
because
Somebody
the
else had
person
hit one.
on top has a very good base. It's tough to off balance them. And by locking full guard, you're essentially pinning yourself to the ground. So if you
All right. So basically, what this guy was saying was that the guard is no good, and there's only like a few submissions that you could essentially do from guard. So he said triangle, armbar, and omoplata, which I think there's only been like one omoplata finish in all of the UFC. But as you can see, here's a shitload of submissions from guard, or submissions that started in guard but eventually ended up getting finished. Triangles, guillotines, arm bars. What do you guys think? Is the guard obsolete in MMA?
I think it's just the way you use it, man. Like some of the things that what he was saying in the video kind of resonated because like if you have a pretty good understanding of jujitsu, even maybe you're a brown belt, black belt, whatever, you it's hard. Like even those fighters, like I don't see them setting up a whole lot of submissions from guard. Some of them do, but it's very hard to get those submissions. We rarely see that, right? and a lot of fighters who do end up putting somebody in the guard end up getting ground and pounded quite a bit. Like they end up taking a lot of damage. And what I think he's trying to say is like, look, you can use your guard to kind of help you out here, but don't stay in guard. Like actively try to figure out how to either move past it, get a better position, or like don't just rely on it just to hold that person to you. Because that's what a lot of fighters seem to do, especially maybe somebody who's not as high level in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like,
Agree.
because then he was talking about other types of guards that might help out.
Cuz, what do you think about this? What do you think about
Well-
the guard play in MMA?
Well, honestly, when you guys first sent this to me and I was watching it, I kind of started when I was starting the video and listening to it. I thought he was saying like jiu-jitsu itself was not not working for MMA. So that's where I kind of thought he was going at the beginning of the video, which I would have argued that completely. But then when he went into like putting someone into guard, I think I still would disagree with him. Simply, I think Alfonso hit on the head. A lot of people that don't know jiu-jitsu very well, like MMA fighters are going to use that guard. But I mean, that's really, you got to know a foundation. And so to say that it doesn't work or anything like that, you can't say a foundational move doesn't work. It just, now with everybody building on different things, there's so much more you can do. I wouldn't say that it doesn't work because it has worked in position, but you're not going to finish nobody. You're not, I mean, in jiu-jitsu, you're not going to finish anybody by just keeping them in your guard unless the time runs out. Same thing with MMA. You're not going to, have finish anybody in the guard, but that's not what its point is. The point of the guard isn't to finish anybody. It's all those other things like the photos you have up there, all those other transitional moves where you get to them. But I mean, it is effective. You don't know jiu-jitsu. You do know, a little bit. You know the guard, that basic foundation. You can at least hold on to him and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But I thought he was talking about like wrestlers versus like jiu-jitsu, and he was talking about all this other stuff. And
he mentioned wrestlers. He mentioned that there's, like you just said, a lot more people are starting to practice jiu-jitsu. So if you go up against a wrestler, the wrestler knows when you're going for a triangle or an armbar. No shit, Sherlock. Guess what? Everyone that trains jiu-jitsu also knows that you're going for some type of submission. So that gets thrown out the window. Secondly, even in jiu-jitsu, if you're just gonna hold your opponent in guard, like Fonzo said, just put your legs around him, and you're not gonna break their posture down. You're not pulling on a sleeve. You're not trying to set up a sweep or something like you said. Then you're gonna get creamed in jiu-jitsu as well. If you let your opponent posture up in MMA in your guard, you're fucked, bro. They're gonna rain down some elbows. You better hope that shit ain't Matt Brown, because he's gonna KO you in your own guard. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%.
So if you're gonna have an active jiu-jitsu game and you're gonna use your guard, you're not gonna be using your guard and letting your opponent posture up. Number one, the top guys never did that. They're always breaking people down. They're always forcing their opponent down, making them make some type of mistake. Maybe step one isn't the submission right away, but maybe it's getting to position B. So that way they can apply step one of plan D that you don't even know about. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't agree. I don't agree with him in that aspect as far as saying like the guard is obsolete. I think if you have a shitty guard, you definitely should not be playing guard, no matter what, whether if it's jiu-jitsu or MMA. But if
it's a starting point. It's a starting point.
And if you look at the best jiu-jiteiros that crossed over from jiu-jitsu to MMA, Marcelo Garcia, Roger Gracie, Damian Maia, Murillo Bustamante, those fools had killer guards. Charles Oliveira, fool. People did not want to step foot into those people's guards. They would make them stand up. You know what I mean? So there was a time where you could be one-dimensional in the UFC and dominate for a while. Damian Maia did it for a really long time. He just barely retired not too long ago. So again, to say that the guard shouldn't be used in MMA, again, it shouldn't be used by everybody. But there's some people out there that are just badass, dude. Badass. And I would have no problem seeing them use their jiu-jitsu or their guard game in MMA. Yeah or no?
Yeah, I
Great.
agree.
All right. Let's move on to the next part. So 542 of the video, he's talking about the second problem that he sees
90% of
in jiu-jitsu. 542.
Just try to stand up. Let's move on to reason number 2. The style of your jiu-jitsu matters a lot if you're going to transition to MMA. Let's take Andre Galvao, for example. Next to Gordon Ryan, probably the most accomplished submission grappler of all time. He went to MMA. He even fought Tyron Woodley back in Strikeforce. He had some success. He also had some failures, and he gave up on his MMA career very fast and went back to jiu-jitsu. But why? Well, you see, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are very good at winning matches by points. And I mean very good at it. Like, they will be world champions, and they won this match because, they got a sweep. They got an advantage.
All right. So OP, original poster there, is saying that the problem number 2 with jiu-jitsu and MMA is that your styles of BJJ matter. And basically,
Well, no shit.
yeah, right. So he's saying, so when I was listening to this talk, this would be like if you decided to do an IndyCar race with your Toyota Prius. Bro, why would you do that?
Right?
Like, why would you try to use again, this is like trying to fit the square peg in the round hole. You don't do that. You know what I mean? To say that jiu-jitsu is ineffective in MMA, again, it's not 100% true. Like, there's some, maybe there's some specifically sports jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of sports. I'm not going to try to Baron Bolo in the UFC because my opponent's going to smash my face in when I'm inverting. Right? There's a lot of stuff that we do, like even leg lock game. Even though the leg lock game is so strong in jiu-jitsu, in MMA, that leaves you open to strikes,
Yep.
But what about rubber guard? What about open guard? There's a lot of other types of guards that you could play. Even a hybrid of jiu-jitsu and wrestling would be pretty good. But to say that jiu-jitsu players only know how to win by advantages and by points, bro, come on.
Isn't that this kind of the same thing in MMA? I mean, how many times have we been watching fights and they're like, okay, as long as he gets a takedown in this round, he's gonna have the advantage. We're gonna say he's gonna win that round. It's a 5-round match. 2 MMA fighters are fighting. They know that they get a takedown in each round. They're pretty much gonna dominate that round. So I mean, they're going based off of points too. They're going based off of points too. So they're smart about it. They know, like, okay, I won the first 3 rounds. I can kind of back off a little bit, or I lost, so I need to start doing more. And then the whole at the basic level, of course your style of jiu-jitsu is going to matter. I mean, you're obviously, if you're going into MMA and you were doing gi, you obviously are going to have options there that are not going to be there in the MMA world. I mean, but to say one thing doesn't work in the other, I think the whole point. I mean, so you think about what was that last fight with the 2 kickboxers. It was a champion that just came back. Yeah. There were 2 kickboxers, right?
Yeah.
2 kickboxers. They have tons of history. They're staying up and everything. But as soon as they fell to the ground, it was like, okay, who knows more jiu-jitsu versus the other one? That was going to win that match. And just so happened one knew one thing a little bit more than the other. Not to say they even really knew jiu-jitsu. It didn't seem like they did. But that won them the fight. You can't. I don't think there's no argument there in that.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Like every style of fighting has got that point game that you play. Boxing's got it. Wrestling's got it. Kickboxing's got it. Like you can coast. You know what I mean? Like anybody can coast. That's not new to jiu-jitsu. That's not unique to jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I didn't agree with that one. You know what I mean? But yeah,
just
everybody's got their opinion, I guess.
For every name that you say, oh, this person wins by decision, this person wins by advantage, you could name someone that wins by sub all the time. Nicholas Marigali, Gordon Ryan, Marcelo Garcia, Roger Gracie, there's people like that out there that are not winning by advantages. So yeah, you could always point to the people that are winning by that way, but that's not everybody. You know what I mean?
You're not going to get knockouts every MMA fight. You know,
Exactly.
you're going to win by points. That's what the whole card. Let's go to the cards and find out who's ahead or whatever. Like that's the whole point of it.
Yep. So let's go to OP's third point. Let me see here.
i.e. Valentina Shevchenko's last fight. Reason number 3. There is a slight difference when you lock a submission up in the UFC versus at your local tournament that you pay $80
What?
to do. See, at your local tournament, those guys are going to die before they tap. Just kidding.
I don't understand his point.
No, he was just kidding.
Oh.
So what he's saying is at your local tournament, like his point was at a local tournament, as soon as somebody locks up a submission, they'll tap. Because why? They're just regular Joes. You know what I mean? Like they gotta go work
the next day.
Exactly. In the UFC, they're trying to make it big, so they're not gonna tap. Not necessarily not that quickly, right? They got a lot at stake. So that's obvious, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else more is there to say about that?
Right, but I don't see how this point like goes towards supports or like doesn't support his argument.
So then what he's saying is that's why it's less effective, is the fact that you have people who will not tap, will try to power out of a submission, right? They're not gonna, just because you locked up a submission doesn't guarantee you a win. In the
right,
UFC
but that's not based off of jiu-jitsu or the submission itself. The technique is the technique. That doesn't change no matter whether you're in the UFC or you're in a local event. What's changing is that person's mentality. Like we did on our last show, we talked about fighters, mentality. Your mentality is, oh, I have to work tomorrow, so I'll take the loss today so I can come back tomorrow. Versus maybe a MMA fighter who, same thing, they might go a little bit longer, but they're eventually going to be like, okay, you're choking the shit out of me, I'm going to tap. Like, It's still the same thing. So that's why I'm saying I don't feel like point 3 supports his argument. I just think he just threw out a point. Like, I'm just going to throw out this bullshit and see if people agree with me.
Yeah. You're probably right on that, because that's probably all he was just trying to do. If your technique is on point and you got someone in a rear naked or a guillotine on a Wednesday night, that fool probably is going to tap before he passes out because he's got to go to work or whatever. In the UFC, if you got a on point guillotine or rear naked or triangle, like on point, flawless technique, and your opponent doesn't tap out, it don't matter if he doesn't tap out. He's going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I showed the picture of Volkanovski surviving that guillotine on, when he fought Brian Ortega. Everyone was like, how did he survive? You know what I mean? Obviously wasn't sunk in 100%. You know what I mean? That choke probably would have gotten 95% of UFC fighters out. But Volk's been there and survived. He knew.
He had plenty of space.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're in a grappling X tournament and you're cranking on an ankle lock versus cranking on an ankle lock in the third round of a fight on the prelims in the UFC, you're probably going to fight it more in the fight in the UFC because they're not hobbyists, bro. They're pros.
Yeah.
Their livelihood, everything is on the line.
It's like playing football, like a professional. Like we're playing it's Thanksgiving. We're all getting together to play football all together. We're always going to go to a certain extent, but you go to the NFL and they're at the, a playoff game or, an NFL level game. They're obviously going to be giving it at a whole nother level. Like his argument was stupid.
You know what else I'm wondering? I'm wondering, like, where does this guy train? I want to know what gym this guy trains at. Because he said, what did he say? He says that normal guys or normal people, like on a Tuesday night class, aren't willing to die to get out of submission. Bro, I don't know if he's ever rolled with a spazzy ass white belt. Those fools, dude, they got crazy
Dude, I
strength.
had a wipeout this week. He was, I kid you, he was maybe 100 pounds max. I mean, strong kid, you know.
And he ragdolled
savage.
you.
No, I had him in a
What'd you do
position.
when you woke up?
I had him in a position, and he literally was carrying me all around the mat just to try and get out of, because I had
Because
his,
he didn't want to die, fool. He's trying to
and I was
survive.
just like, and then
That's what I'm
finally he
talking
stopped.
about.
I'm like, dude, like, you just literally carried me all over this mat, and I haven't even like gone anywhere. I'm still holding on to you. Like, it was just so. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Fucking white belts.